Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Francisco.
Hello, Jorge. Hello, Manuela.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
We were talking before we start that I'm really looking forward for this conversation. Manuela and you, we were talking about what would be the best way to introduce you. And she was telling me, oh, but you know him better than myself. And it's like, I talked to Francisco maybe one or two times in my life. But I think that, I don't know, I just feel something about this guy that is worth to listen to. I don't know exactly what it is, to be perfectly honest. But
It's a feeling.
that's the feeling that I have. And I'm not going to read too much of an introduction. I mean, you are very much known for the Periospot guy. You make a lot of content over the last years. You have some role with Straumann, right? You have like the global customer something, right? But the way that I see you is that it's like there's this guy searching for meaning within dentistry and within life, and this is the feeling that I have when I think of you. And don't take this wrong, because this is actually a compliment, because this is the kind of people that we like to have here. People that have sometimes more doubts than things that they are certain of. So it's really lovely to have you here and to be able to talk to you and to be able to listen to the way that you see this profession and life in general, because you've been having quite a rich life inside dentistry. I mean, you've been living in 3 or 4 countries now. You've been exposed to a lot of different types and of different dentists. But tell me, am I wrong when I say that you are a guy in search for meaning within the profession and within life?
No, first of all, George and Manuela, thank you for having me and for the invitation on your podcast. I really feel it. For me, it's a pleasure, and I feel blessed on being with you guys tonight. On the other side, and thank you for your kind words and your introduction, George. And sorry for saying before, I said Jorge because I'm in Spain, and sometimes I switch with one link.
Yeah, but Francisco, in London, do you know what they call me? It's not George, not Jorge. It's Yorgi. Yorgi, like I was Greek.
Oh my God, the Yorgi! No, the Yorgi beer. No, absolutely no. Thank you very much, and thank you for your words, and also for your your initial try to analysis about my profile, and definitely I think that the purpose. I think all of us we seek a purpose in our life. You guys doing this podcast and going beyond the boundaries, of what is limited to what is dentistry. Everyone, when you talk with someone that is outside from dentistry, you say that you are a dentist, all they think is that you are a painful guy, that you put the needle, that you just cause pain, and you have a very, very boring life, 9 to 5 or 9 to 5. Hopefully it's not 9 to 5, because dental offices in Portugal and Spain and in Mediterranean countries, they close even at 8 or 9 o'clock. So it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's a very stressful job. And all you cause, is pain, but also, of course there is meaning in our profession. At the end, that there should be, the output should be a happy patient at the end. And we are just in the middleman between, oral healthcare and a happy patient. So oral disease and then a happy patient that should be, after he went out of your office with after a treatment, it should be happy. So I think that we have a purpose. All of us, we have a meaning. And, should be our first, let's say, command, or let's say our first mandament, like where we should treat patients and make people happier, and find their more happier with themselves. But then we want to get an extra mile, like you, with a dedicated content for dentists. We want to run an extra mile on creating content and creating, added value or content that, people are from the dental or maybe from the other professions, that they can digest and know much better about us. So I think all of us, at the end, we see that all of us, we have a purpose, and definitely this extra mile sometimes gives you so much pleasure, and you are not going to lie to me. I can see your smile in your face, so you cannot lie to me that this extra mile that you do, guys, gives you sometimes much more extra pleasure than, for example, when you complete a treatment in a patient and you get an extra patient. So this is the kind of balance that you need. I think that sometimes if then you are only closed in your dental office and doing over and over the same thing and not sharing nothing with the outside world. So at the end, maybe you can get, let's say, boring or depressed or even worse. So it's just a way of getting, let's say, your time, and put the time that you have. It's not too much. If you have kids, you understand that. And if you have a family, it's not easy, to have this left this time aside and hustle, or the side hustle, where you can put your time, allocate time to do and to create things. So yeah, definitely, of course, I have a purpose. You have a purpose, and I think that we are we are quite similar in that way. This is the way I see it.
Francisco, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey in dentistry. How did you become a dentist, and how does this all unfolds? Portugal, Spain, Switzerland. Tell us a little bit about your journey in dentistry. How did you get here?
Oh, no, actually, I didn't want to become a dentist. I was, when I was a kid, I wanted to become an astronaut, and I was pretty clear about that. So to my parents, I was really clear, about becoming an astronaut. And I think, since I saw the Columbia exploding, maybe you were too young, but you saw the Columbia exploding, and I said, oh, I would like to become an astronaut, and you say, putting in risk your life, to go to and discover new things was something that was quite attractive to me. And then my grandparent, that fortunately today is alive, is 101 year old. And, I was 12 and he had a tumor in his brain. So for me, it was like, life-changing moment, where you see your grandparent. It was like a parent to me, that he gets healed with this, very serious disease. And he was saved by doctors, neurosurgery, and that he fully recovered. And you say, wow, these doctors are my heroes. I want to become a doctor. I quit, the idea of becoming an astronaut at 12 years old. I told my mother, I want to become a doctor. And she said, maybe if you want to become a doctor, Portugal is not the country for you, because, the average, grades that you need in Portugal to become a doctor, between 1 to 20, you have to get a 19.5 or something like that. It was at the time, the score that you had, or the average grade that you had to get. I was quite far away from that. Honestly, I was like in the 14s or 13s. I was an average student. I was like the most laziest guy in the whole class. So I would never make it in Portugal. So my mother, she said to take a decision, maybe you need a country that is at your level. That you will find maybe mediocrity in Spain, because the average level it's way below, on the 90.5. With 14 you can get access to the medical school. So that's why I switched country. And when I was 16, I switched to Spain, and I already did the access, all the exams and tests to the medical school in Spain. I think I tried all the universities in Spain. Of course, I didn't make it. But in parallel, I was doing as well, applying to pharmacist, as a pharmacist, to become a pharmacist, and as well to dental school. And I was accepted in both in pharmacist and dental school. And my father at the end asked, are you going to stay at home and do nothing and try again to become to get into the medical school and repeat tests, or are you going to go to the university and try maybe dentistry and check if you like it? And that's the way it went. I went to Madrid. I started the dentistry, and actually I liked it a lot. I liked it so much that instead of 5 years, I studied for 6 years. So I just create an extra year just to. I take it really, 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 really easy. And of course, my first 2 years of university, I would not disclose the details, but you can imagine were not the most productive. So it was like, a new guy that, suddenly wakes up in Madrid in a
Party hard.
Oh, yeah, exactly. With the homes, it was a 24/7 party. So at the end, after 2 years, I realized that I had to went full ballistic, and that's what happened. I have to do 2 years in one, and then again 2 years in one, and then the last 2 years I take it more calm. But it was more or less it was my decision and why I became a dentist.
And how did you end up with Straumann and in Switzerland?
Yeah, well, I was happy. I had my dental office in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Since 2009. That's when I bought a dental office in Barcelona, and I started my private practice there while I was working in other dental offices in Barcelona. I was studying my master degree in implant dentistry and also oral surgery. And in 2017, I was already collaborating and doing some stuff with, on marketing, on research and development, and on content creation marketing for a Spanish company named Fibo. And and in 2017, I had the first contact with Straumann, and they were searching for a sort of, let's say, a training education manager. I went to Basel, where the headquarters are, was interviewed. And immediately, it was immediately a fit in with the team. And I have to say that, the first years in Straumann with the team was really amazing. All the people we had this, we were like a team that was inside this, big company that is Straumann, but we were like a sort of startup within Straumann. It was the DSCO team, which I felt, was really different. That the vibe was really, really, really good. And this was the way I started Straumann, a training education manager. Yeah.
So you moved your whole life from Spain to Switzerland?
Well, at the beginning, it was thought that I was taking a global role, but then the decision was maybe you are going to focus on Spain and Portugal because you have a high knowledge of the market, of the Spanish and Portuguese market. And I stayed in Barcelona for the first 3 years. Then we were, let's say, talking about moving to Switzerland, but then, COVID came, and this conversation was not making sense because, the middle of COVID, maybe moving and upgrading people where we were in the middle of a financial crisis didn't make sense at all. So then after the COVID, we bounced back and we start again the conversations, and then I have the opportunity to move all the family to Switzerland. And now it's almost 3 years ago that we moved to Switzerland, and all the family is there, and it was an adventure. Yeah.
How was it for a guy like you? I mean, from Latin countries, partying all the time. How is Switzerland for you? How do you see Switzerland? Was it a shock? Did you adapt yourself? How was that? I'm curious.
George, you will not believe me if I tell you that I do not party since the 26, 27.
You party in your own head. You party in your own head. I can bet that.
No, I become what my wife calls me the mushroom, because she says, you are a boring guy. You become a very boring guy. You never want to go out. You never want to go for a drink. You never go out for dinner. You are a stay-at-home guy, like always looking, to try to save money and not spend too much. And so I become this sort of person that is complete the opposite, that she, of course, when she met me. And of course, she calls me the mushroom guy, So moving to Switzerland, actually, for me, was a sort of upgrade and a complete match, because you are not so, you are not searching for fun. You are not searching for, clubbing. You are not searching for, partying. So Switzerland was perfect for me. Having dinner at 6 o'clock, go to bed at 9. I felt so happy. It was the perfect match. In Spain, if I say people I want to have dinner at 6, they will, of course, they will jail me. Of course, I would be fiended. So in Switzerland, having dinner at 6:30 makes me completely happy. It's fulfilled.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you are a lot into dental education, especially online education with the Periospot. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in Periospot, and how do you see dental education today and eventually in the future? How do you see the role of online education? Where do you think all of this is going to go? I mean, nobody actually knows where this is going to go. But how was your past? What are you doing? And how do you see the future for Periospot and dental education in general?
Well, George, actually, my idea of Periospot, it came when I was studying the MBA back in 2014 in Barcelona. My wife said, you are like the most disastrous guy managing a dental office. You really need, some skills on how to manage a business, because you are like cows, you take care of the patients and that's it. You are good at, what you are doing inside when you are doing your surgeries, doing your things, stitching and placing implants. But when it comes to financial and to marketing and to, to get people organized and human resources, you are sort of disaster. She said, you should enroll at MBA and learn some things from there. And for me, the MBA was more an open eye. It completely backfires, on my wife, let's say, plans, because, as soon as I get into the MBA, I start reading books. I said, okay, I'm a dentist, but you can do other stuff. You don't have to stick to, to your job that you were training in. You did a degree, you can create things, actually you can do other things. So I start, reading books and reading, business cases and the idea of Periospot on creating content. That there is a book from Ryan Holiday that is about growth hacking, and I start reading that books, and also Jim Collins, Good to Great, and I completely, I got crazy with all these ideas and these growth strategies and how they, how you can outperform and how you can actually provide value, to people. And I saw that there was a huge gap in the dental, let's say, dental education. When it comes to the scientific, there is this part of scientific knowledge that is, you go to PubMed, you go to these sources, ResearchGate, you have these scientific articles, you download the PDF. And I start spotting, that people, actually, they do not read a lot of scientific publications. It's maybe you will see PhD students or postgraduate students reading it and having the scientific literature, updated in their heads or memorizing, scientific articles. But actually, the average dentist that is, doing on routinary things, they are not reading scientific articles. Maybe they get updated in Congress in a while. And I saw a huge gap, between there is nothing in between these scientific articles and nothing in between this dentist that goes on, on every day to the dental office. And he doesn't have time, to consume all these scientific papers that at the end, they almost all of them, they conclude like always the same way, further research is needed to come up with a solid conclusion, so it's quite frustrating to read that. So I grabbed Periospot and I say, let's try to to get a different content and to create different content that people can digest and that people maybe gets interested. And I try to to bring and create on my own illustrations, animations, put the content in more a storytelling way that you could digest in like 5-10 minutes, and you can get updated in different topics. So this was the way to go for me, and I was feeling really happy at the time, because I saw that actually people were liking it, and I saw that it was having traction. I was publishing it on social media. It was a time where you publish a link on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram and so on, and people actually would read it, and you would get visits. And I saw that people were start receiving feedback. Hey, this is great. This is really good. How you break down, how you summarize scientific knowledge into more digestible content, and this motivated me to keep up with doing and creating this content. And at the end, it was not. It was time consuming for me, because I was the guy in the backstage of this of Periospot, doing the illustrations, creating the illustrations, putting the website, creating the videos, editing the videos, researching, reading the scientific papers, summarizing it, and then putting it all this together. It was really time consuming. Then creating the newsletters, sending the newsletters. You guys, you are doing a podcast. You know what it is. After you're creating the podcast, this moment is the easiest one. Then it comes the post-production, and as post-production works. Matching the sound, creating the intros, the outros, everything, parallel. So it's a lot of work for one person. And of course, my wife started complaining. You are in the dental office, like during the week you are in the dental office. Then Saturdays you go to the dental office still, in the mornings, Saturday mornings. Then Saturday afternoon you go straight to the computer. And then, every single morning you wake up at 5, and before you go to your actual job, you are typing and writing or designing and editing videos. So, and for nothing, and you give away this content, in their mind, how you can give away this content for free? People should pay to get access to the content. I say, I don't know. My purpose is to, to get and to fill this gap that is between the scientific publications and actually the dentist that is not willing to to go through all these scientific articles that are published by thousands every single day. So what would be the purpose on gatekeeping this content and putting in a paywall? So it would be against the first rule of Periospot on promoting content and giving away all this content. But at the end, it paid back. It paid back on it rewarded me with knowledge. Because every day I was learning a new thing. I was learning how to use Adobe Illustrator. I was learning how to use Adobe After Effects. I was learning how to use Final Cut. I was learning how to how to get into a scientific publication and immediately spot a gap in the data. I was learning new things. So for me, it was like a motivation. It was immediately rewarded. No, definitely not. And but then I start being invited to courses, to congresses, and you start and you acquire a new skill that is public communication, and public speaking. So and you become by force a communicator. So you get into the stage. Of course, first time you feel like really quite lame, but then after 100 times you become your proficiency. You become really I think good at communicating and putting your ideas out there. So I think that Periospot what brought me maybe economically. If you say you Periospot, you do a lot tons of money. Periospot I pay for it, basically because I have to pay all the the maintenance, all the the databases and so on. And this monthly, it's a bill that I pay for my pocket. But in the long run, it's something that I enjoy. I enjoy doing, and the knowledge that I got from there, on different things, and the skills that I created and on developing it, for me, it's what is paying back all that time that I spent on the platform.
And how about the future? How do you see that?
Well, the future, as you know, the end of the when we are talking about education, of course, we can talk about specifically about dental education, but when it comes to education, it has not changed in the last 1,000 years. It's when you enroll in something, maybe the means of doing this dental of doing the education, maybe they change a little bit, but it's always the same thing. It's one guy in front of you, one other people in the back. Just listen to one guy, and you have to take for granted that what this person is teaching you is the absolute truth. And then you go out, you digest that content that you absorbed during a morning or 1 day, 2 or 3 days, and then you get a test, an exam, and then you have to pass through exams. So and luckily you will acquire some knowledge. So this is the way how it worked in the last 1,000 years. And now we are seeing a little bit of a shift. We saw a shift during COVID that people start embracing new technologies to start learning. Online learning became like mainstream. And then the second shift that we are seeing is with AI technologies and how AI is providing us a new way for us to learn. And I was the other day I was reading a book that is Welcome to AI. Is from David Schrader, and he talks about one concept that is the cognitive flexibility, and how willing are people right now to embrace these new technologies to really start learning from them. And I see that there is room for improvement, of course, because when you grab GPT, when you grab, or Anthropic Cloud or whatsoever, and you want to get into very specific topics on dentistry, they start hallucinating. So there is a tough work to do, when we get AI specialized tools, to educate people in dentistry, but they will eventually come. And we will see, eventually how these new tools, AI and this generative AI is going to become mainstream in education. But this is all about, your willingness to embrace this technology. Because the other day I was in a course during 3 days, and I could see that, a lot of people, they are interested in getting to know, these new ways of learning, but they are very skeptical still. And I tell him that they were people that paid for a course, so they, they should be interested, or at least they are the most interested cohort in adopting new technologies. But you could see that people, they are embracing technology very carefully in our sector, in the dental sector. And for me, I see it as a huge opportunity. And this is absolutely, I can tell you, right now is what keeps me awake, at night, because, 2 years ago, I start programming. I start learning, language programming and AI, how to also to code and how to train, large language models and machine learning. So this is the sort of thing that keeps me awake. And right now, at 5:30 p.m. I wake up, and the first thing that I'm doing is coding and programming and training my own LMs on specifically on education and digesting this content and trying to get the output that I want, from all this scientific knowledge that is out there. And at the end, I cannot disclose too much because it's still on my laptop, and it's a baby that I'm creating. But still, I really feel that there will come new tools and new ways to educate people that we right now we can not imagine yet, how they are going to change the way we can learn. So I think that is a great time to be alive, and a great time to learn as well new skills. So this is this is the way I see it, and for me the near future will be about generative AI and the impact of generative AI in not only in the dental education, but in the education in the overall. You can follow guys like David Shearer is one of them. Ethan Mollick, it's the other guy. They are guys that are pushing how to educate people with generative AI tools. So I really I try to be updated on that and try to be doing my own stuff and let's see what comes out from there.
Looks very cool. Looks very, very cool.
Francisco, my next question for you is how you balance all of that with your personal life. I mean, we saw in your social media that about your need of life balance, and you took some time off. Can you say something about that? Of whatever you are comfortable, of course, but work-life balance for dentists it's a huge issue, and we talk about that a lot here in the podcast. And you just mentioned so much that you are your curiosity, your motivation, you're a learner, you are a doer, you a go-getter. So how do you balance all of that then with the personal life? You said you have kids, your wife, everything. How do you do that?
That's the problem, Manuela.
You have 5 kids, right?
I have 5 kids. Yes,
Jesus.
I have kids. Yeah.
Jeez,
and they are always starving and asking for food. Yeah, it's but when it comes to your question, Manuela, the problem is that I don't balance and I don't measure carefully, the balance and I end up, 1 year and a half, I end up with a burnout and I have to stop. I was fighting against it. I was refusing to accept the new situation of burnout and depression. I went to the doctor just because I was feeling different. I was feeling that, my capacity, I was just making no sense when I went to the computer. I was making a lot of mistakes. I was just failing, some forgetting things. I start this way, and something was wrong about me. And, we dentists, we have access to prescriptions. And the first thing that you say, oh, okay, I'm not sleeping very well. I'm not maybe a little bit sad or demotivated. Let's take some pills, and you prescribe some, antidepressants because you feel like that. So maybe it's just that, and you start doing on yourself, And I was doing a lot of sports, and I think that helped me a lot to, the symptoms were quite hard, but as I was doing quite hard sport, that symptoms were not they were not flourishing so fast as they should. And that's why I keep up, a lot of months with the symptoms, and I keep up, and then I went to the doctor, and the doctors, he ran a lot of tests, and he did me a lot of questionnaires, like 3 or 4 visits, and told me, hey, you are into a burnout and you are into a depression. You have to stop like for 1 month. And I say, hey, let's stop this conversation right now, because I came here just for a professional assessment and evaluation, and just for you just to check my medication, and in case I need to modify it, you just modify it, but not for sick leave or something, not like that. And no, but you have to stop for 1 month. And I said, and I went out of that office, like laughing, the doctor. I said, you are completely crazy. I'm not going to stop for 1 month because I have a lot of stuff to do. So I went again, routine and so on, and until it completely. If you don't listen to your body start talking really, really strong. Stronger and stronger every day until I fainted. I start fainting. I fainted in the stairs. I fainted in the shower. I start and forgetting things, sending emails, answering emails that were in English. I was answering them in Spanish, and then I was asking my kid to check my work, my PDFs or my Word files. My other kid, because I was completely writing nonsense. And I think that the moment that I almost went crazy was when in 5 days in a row, I did not sleep at all. And in the 5th day, I was completely with pills with no effect, nothing. I landed in the hospital directly. And when I landed in the hospital, the doctors asked me if this time I would listen to them. And I said, maybe. And they told me, we are going to take 1 month break because otherwise it's going to kill you. And I said, 1 month break, I will accept it, but no more. And then after 1 month, I tried to get back 100% work against all the recommendations, doctor recommendations, but they said that I should start with a 20% and go back to 40, 60. And I refused that, obviously, and I started, after 1 month, 100%. And the first day I saw that it was impossible because I was doing just small tasks and I was unable to complete the task. So I got back to the doctor, like crying, like say, I think I'm retarded or something like that. I lost all my neurons. Please help me. And he said, now you are going to listen to me fully. And I said, yes. And they sent me to rehab, to a clinic where I was like for 4 months, completely isolated, for any type of work and social environments, social interactions, and so on. And this was, the hard way I learned, how burnout and how, depression can hit you. And now I learned, that you have to listen to your body and to listen when these symptoms come and not try to stop it on your own or start to stop it only with, doing sports. Sports, you should keep doing sports, of course, definitely, but definitely not medicating yourself without professional assessment.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a high level. I can tell you that it was much more. Of course, there is always a backstory, but definitely the overview was that.
It's so nice that you are able to talk about that so openly and so,
because it's very common in dentistry to not listen to your body, to keep going. I have to. It's very common, and you don't hear about that.
When you have a big family, and it's so. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's gonna help many people that hear this. Trust us, it's really gonna be helpful. Then, yeah. So.
Yeah, it's great. No, I hope it helps someone. At least spotting the symptoms before they get and do not expose you to the last stage of this. Burnout.
Because when you talk about depression, burnout, very often people mention sadness and stuff like that, and your story is quite different. It's like you kept going because you were doing a lot of sports, so. You just felt that I'm sure there was some sadness, but you just felt that your brain just was not working properly, and it's very interesting, right? Because you were aware of that. You were like looking inside you from a detached perspective. I was like, look, there's something inside this machine here that is not working well chemically or wherever, right? So it's, I bet that's very scary.
Yeah, absolutely, George. Is spot on what you just mentioned. You just notice that something is different, and it's getting worse, day after day until it explodes in your face, and you have to do something, and you have to, of course, definitely the way to go is with professional assessment. You have to get into professional.
Yeah, but I think it's very important because it happened to me also. Not in such a degree, but I've gone through something similar, and I think something really important here, and I don't know if you agree with it, which is I think you have to understand that the way that you are thinking is, of course, biased, right? There's something wrong with the way that your brain operates, but you can detach yourself and you can look at yourself from a more neutral way and say, look, this is not the person that I am. There's something here that's affecting the way that I think, the way that I see the world, but I am not this person. And this organ, just like any other organ, just needs to be fixed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. At the end, it's like a muscle. The brain is like a muscle. If you try to work out too much, it's going to break. So it needs to rest at some moment. It needs to rest. It needs to be fed, and then you can use it again. But if you overuse it, it breaks like any other muscle. Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's also just to wrap this part. So one interesting question. So if your brain is not working well, your cognitive functions are not working well, who is the thing or the entity or the soul or whatever you want to call it that is looking into that? Isn't it weird? I mean, you just look yourself from the outside. You are aware that so basically what you believe to be yourself is actually not exactly who you are, right? This brain, this mind is not exactly who you are. So the way that you are looking at it is from someone else's perspective, which is eventually is the real you or the soul or whatever. So I find this view is very interesting. So this is why I also think that sometimes when you have a burnout or a depression or whatever, it's a huge opportunity to see yourself from a different angle, to be able to observe yourself in a way that you're not used to, because many times you believe that you are what you think you are. You are your brain, but actually you have the capacity to understand from an outside view, and that's what really is interesting to me. From an outside, you look at yourself and look, actually, this brain is not working, and I find this really interesting. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, who is looking at your...
Yeah. And it was one exercise that took me a long time to let's say, to perform.
Manuela is laughing because she knows it. She talks. She makes her life talking about it.
I just wanted to say that what you described, I don't know if you guys read already Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. What you described, it's basically what he had to when he became Eckhart Tolle. So he was going through a huge period of depression and burnout. He was thinking about suiciding himself, and at a certain moment he started to pay attention to this voice, to like George was saying, and he said, "Wait, but who is this voice?" And he was able to go to that higher self and detach from the ego, and he became Eckhart Tolle, and he wrote The Power of Now. So it's basically what you said. It reminded me immediately of the story of Eckhart Tolle. But Francisco, go on.
No, yeah. This is great, Manuela, and it's good that you mentioned Eckhart Tolle, and it's really difficult, George. And I don't know what's your take on this, but for me, it was really difficult to listen to myself and to get outside of me and see myself.
It's not easy. Self-conscious it's hard. Yeah.
And this self-awareness, you have to train it, and like any other thing, and then you do not believe in yoga, you do not believe in mindfulness, and suddenly you have to start believing in it and start practicing it. And you learn, in therapy, and during I was, during when I was in the hospital, so I learned these things. I went doing this exercise, and at the beginning was like, okay, keep your brain, shut down, and at the beginning was completely a disaster. But then you start really feeling, and going through this state of where you start feeling your toes, you start feeling your knees, and you go, step by step in your body, and then it gets to your brain, and then you try to step outside of yourself, and look at what you are in right now, your situation, compared to 5 years ago. And then also you start thinking what you want for the future. What do you want? What you want to do with it. And do not be a victim of the decisions that you took 20 years ago. Like, hey, it's okay. I took a pathway of getting into this, being a dentist and going, full ballistic on a professional career, and just to not being a victim of that decisions of a younger you with 17 years old, with completely, and follow to that decisions of a 70 years old kid. When you are 45 years old, maybe you should take a break and rethink your priorities and what you want for the rest of your life, and do not be, trapped into that trap of of the decisions that you took like when you were young, because you thought it was the way to go, and everyone was telling you that you should obey the way. So it was, it was time for reflection. I had, this time that I was out 5 months, almost 5 months in hospital, and then completely out of stages and interactions almost 1 year. I could not stand, being at dinner with more than 3-4 people. I could not stand it. I could not stand it, social interactions. I start feeling overwhelmed when I start, seeing a lot of people around. Is one of the symptoms as well, so you have to check when you start seeing that you are not able to interact socially.
Yeah, sure.
So this is one of the symptoms. And I was not really aware. And, my wife was saying, it's just getting more boring, but this time is the boringness is getting stronger and stronger in you. It's like you are, you try, to be in your room alone and not social interactions. If people come over for a dinner, you try to refuse it and to avoid it. And these were the symptoms as well, and then I was away, completely away. And for me, it was a fantastic way. I went to Porto like 3 months ago, was my first social interaction, big social interaction in Scalpel in Porto with the Professor Marco Infante invited me for lecturing there. And of course I feel a little bit awkward, 1 year after, all these things. But then I pick up quickly, it just comes up again, and now I'm just that, this, what Manuela said, being aware of this self-awareness, if symptoms try to get back again, just be aware of it and try to avoid getting to the stage that you went through.
So tell us what, because I think these experiences, they have the negative part, but they also have this huge possibilities for change and for improvement. I mean, there's a whole new way of life that you have ahead of you, and I think that this is why the struggle in one's life is so important, because it opens new opportunities for you to see life in other ways, and eventually I'm sure that in a few years, and actually probably right now, you're looking back and say, well, actually this was bad, but it can be one of the best things that have happened to me, because otherwise I wouldn't change some behaviors. What are the things that changed the most after this?
I think that's priorities, and start saying things. I don't know if you read this book now. The name of the author doesn't come up to my mind now. This is one of the things that I have to recover 100% is my memory.
No,
but the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Of course, Mark Ross.
Of course.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So this book, then I remember a lot. After this, I remember a lot about this book. Sometimes you just have to not give a fuck. And really, being able of the progress and enjoy the progress. And if you want to get to a point, and if you have a goal, if you are not going to enjoy the let's say the pathway to that goal, just don't do it. And just keep it away.
No.
Say no, exactly. So if you are not willing to suffer the pain to achieve a goal, just avoid it. But there are other things that you have to learn, from that book. Of course, how you should as well, take feedback from other people, or feedback. everything nowadays is called feedback, and I think it's there is a lot of ways of giving feedback to a person, but when sometimes someone comes to you and say, yeah, this is a shitty presentation on this is completely crap, and you say, okay, but tell me why. You do not accept feedback. I don't think this is feedback, when someone comes up, like in this manner. So, what I think is, when you start handling these situations differently, okay, it's shit, it's come on. So let it be, So it's the way to accept, these people and these maybe, mean people and mean comments differently, how to not being affected for external in let's say interferences, and start making your own decisions and start making your own stuff and clear your mind and stop being afraid of some things that
and just not worth it.
Just not worth it. Absolutely, it takes you. It only brings you white hair and stress.
Yeah. Look at us both. Look at us both.
Yeah. You can see it. At least we have hair.
Yes, at least we have hair. So one of the last topics that we'd like to have your opinion on, and maybe this was not something that really affected you, but I'm sure that you think about this, and I'm sure that you reflect upon this. I mean, you have 5 kids, and I'm sure that you are concerned about this. All the social media, the pressure, the need to be liked by other people, the need to be validated by other people in general, but also in dentistry, right? So what is the good and the bad thing that you see in social media regarding dentistry and in general? I mean, there came some. I'm sure that's some positive things have arisen, right? Because, for example, we could expose our work in the way that we couldn't do it like in 20 years ago, which is good. I mean, Periospot came on the right time because there was social media. But it seems, and I don't know if you agree with us, it seems that it's taking a completely different direction. And I think it seems like we have created something a little bit out of control. What are your thoughts on that? Are we being too pessimistic? Are we being too optimistic? How do you see the future? How do you allow your kids to use social media? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a very good question. And I have to answer very carefully, because social media, I have to say, they gave me a lot, at least to me, a lot of opportunities.
But the same. Sorry, Francisco, but the same for both of us.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yes.
The same for both of us. For all the 3 of us. Yeah.
Exactly. So you went through all that experience, and in the past, like 15 years ago or 20 years ago, if you if you wanted to have an opportunity outside of being, just a dentist, doing, fillings and veneers, you will have to publish in a scientific paper, and hopefully you will get, your name in somewhere or recognize it. And getting your paper, published in a scientific paper, so sometimes you have to be friend with someone, then you have to go through peer review it, then you have to get an affiliation university, which is not for everyone. So social media give equal opportunities to everyone. So everyone with a voice, everyone with a keyboard, with a laptop, with a mobile phone could create content and could put it out there and share it with everyone. If the content was good, people will enjoy it, will get traction, will start following you, and will start enjoying and interact with you, which was something that, it was something. Seth Godin, he published this book Tribes in 2008, I think, or 2009. It was like, he called it like, the tribe leader, that he called it the tribe leader, or becoming a tribe leader. It was up to something, because in 2008, 2009, we were not yet with this word of influencer. I hate that word. Influencer for me, it has a lot of negative connotations, and so I hate that. But Seth Godin, when he talked about, the tribe leader he was talking about, in the future, he was talking like, in the future, you will be able, to create a community of people that are going to follow your ideas, to follow, to buy into your values, and to follow you for what you share. And this was really in line with the discourse, the Start With a Why from Simon Sinek, that people really do not follow you because you are tall, or because you are brown, or because you whatsoever. They follow you because they believe in you, believe in your ideas, and they believe in your values. So a combination of them. So social media, in its sense, it's quite positive, quite strong idea and concept. Anyone can have this power of creating a community or a tribe, with equal opportunities. So you just stop, to really be curious about what perhaps people are needing, or they want to, or they are craving, or the pains they are suffering. So, and provide them, solutions. So the purpose of social media was at the beginning good, but then it becomes, and you can see, you go to Instagram, and you can see that it's becoming a lot of show off. It's becoming a lot of, not the content that you were expecting, to digest. And you have to go, have to curate through a lot of posts to get into really nice content. And in the past, it was not like that. People were more careful about what they are sharing. But today, you get into Twitter, or you get into Reddit, and you see that there are bots, talking to each other. At some point, there are some AI bots talking to each other. This is not the kind of things that you want. And when it comes to kids, my kids, I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not, vigilante, or trying to check their mobile phones and see what they are, because I think that it would only get worse. If you try to control, or to see, because my parents with me, they never did that. Try to control what I see, or what it's just up to come from you. Just to see what is for you, what is not, and check by yourself, and you will learn with time, that content is not for you. So I'm not the kind of guy that is hacking the router so they do not have access to some content and so on. So I think that, and unfortunately, what I'm seeing is that my kids, without instructions and any kind of influence, I try to influence them. Let's say very little influence from me. They are they are picking up and really from themselves. They are they show to me like, look at this guy, he's completely crap, and look at this guy, and I feel happy that they from themselves they can spot like a scammer, that can spot like this kind of new influencers, or like ridiculous kinds of new trends. So for me, this is the way to go, because otherwise, if I was try to maybe forbid content and to try to keep it, and then suddenly when they become 18s, they are so naive that they will, just get access to all this content, and it's like like the nun that gets out of the convent, and then suddenly she's free from Jesus Christ, and of course, what happens next.
Francisco, one last question for me. I saw on your Instagram bio running, guitar, and humor. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about these three things, the importance of these three things in your life, the way they shape your daily life, and also the way they shape your dentistry practice. Because me and Jorge, we talked a lot about how we can integrate these parts of ourselves in our dentistry practice, and how that even shape the way that we work. So tell us, running, guitar, and humor. What is this in Francisco's life?
Oh, well, I think that we are living the meme generation, and for me, life is a meme. And we will never stop. Humor for me is basic, is important part of my life. Every day should be about humor. Um, no, I have to say that I do not live right now in the most humoristic country in the world, and Swiss are considered very straight people. But I was surprised, because they have a really strong sense of humor.
A particular sense of humor, right?
Exactly, I discovered. So that you can work around that. But definitely the humor should be, it for me at least it's a central part of my life, and how I interact with people. I try to interact with people, and always it was, of course, one of the points of confrontation with my wife was this one, like you go to the dental office and you are the clown of the dental office and you are the owner of the dental office. You're not the clown. You're not there to entertain people. No. And I said, but this is quite boring. You go to dental office, you have a countdown. Well, as soon as you put anesthetic to a patient, you have a countdown clock. If you think about that, and you should have fun during that time. You should, entertain yourself. Doing jokes with people, doing jokes with the people that you work with, and not just being this straight face, like serious all the time. And that doesn't fit me at all. So of course I don't mind, if you want to call me the clown of the circus, go ahead and do it. It's up to you, but you are not going to get me, like this kind of being like a straight guy, or I always say in Portuguese, with your nose like you are smelling something all the time. So for me, it's quite important, humor. And I'm searching to consume. I'm a huge consumer of humor. Since Monty Python, I think that they were a life changer for me. Till today, that I'm searching, actually, actively searching for memes and for this kind of stuff. I love to consume. And when it comes to guitar, for me, it's like a stress relief. When I am on the laptop. Here at home, I am at my parents' home here in Galicia, so I don't have the guitar. They didn't brought the guitar, but usually when I'm working at home, I have my guitar beside me, and in between meetings, I just get the guitar. And for me, it's like a way to not think about nothing. I completely empty my mind when I'm playing the guitar. So for me, it's
a kind of meditation then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a meditation tool. It's like doing sports. You go for running and you forget about the world, like for 30, 45 minutes. You play the guitar, you forget about everything, about, invoices, about things, taxes, and all this stuff. For half an hour, 45 minutes, you forgot about your boss and that kind of things. So it's a way that it doesn't mean that you put aside your problems, but you just forget about them for a while. So it's...
Before the last question, how important was humor during during that the burnout stage? I mean, would you make jokes about that?
No, right now, of course. I do it, because during the burnout, and I was like a piece of furniture at home, during that part of my life. I was just sitting there reading, because I didn't want to go into social media, so no phones, nothing, just reading. And I was like Stephen Hawking, in the sofa, like, rolling like with my head like this, and of course I got very fat, for because of the medications, and I went, up to 100 kilograms. I was completely overweight, and like my wife said, right now you are unfuckable, like it was like this big guy, and for me, right now is all about joking about that moment, because it's the past. Of course, we went through a lot during that time, but right now I just make jokes about it.
Of course, that's the way to go. Yeah.
I think it's also a medicine, to overcome it, and then and to see it how you were last, looking back, 1 year ago, I was in this same house and my friends were around and I didn't want to go out with them, just for drink and so on. And now, it's completely different. And of course I have to joke about that moments because it's past. And definitely I do it. I do jokes about bad things, good things. I have, dark humor, brighter humor. I think I touch every points of the humor. Sometimes it's not very political correct, but getting back to the book, the subtle art of not
Living is fun.
exactly.
And one last question. So are you working in Switzerland as a dentist as well, or just
as a dentist right now? Not yet, because you have to have a proficiency on the language from the canton. In the canton I live in is German, so I have to get my German up to date because after 3 years my German is not yet there.
But you plan to still keep doing some clinical work, or you want to go all into tech and education?
No, I still do clinical work because I travel to Barcelona.
Okay.
I keep doing, I keep mentoring people, doing classes, and even with my work peers, every time I want to do a full arch, surgery. So we just take a plane and we go to Barcelona and we do a full day or 2 days of full arches, and, over the shoulder with them. And for me, I really enjoy. I enjoy it much more now that I don't have this business pressure. I just go there and I just enjoy the time, and I can do even more jokes, which is for me even funnier, and not having this economical pressure, on doing patients and patients waiting. And so for me, it's much even more enjoyable. But of course, my plans, Switzerland is to get, my licenses approved as soon as I get the level of German or French if I live in the French canton, or Italian if I live in the Italian canton. But definitely, this is the only roadblock I have right now.
And the last question would be advice for young dentists, but I would place it in a different way. What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self? And because I think that you don't have specific advice for dentistry. I mean, that's quite boring, but advice in general for anyone who is 16, 17, deciding on the career based on your own experience, what would you tell them?
I think I'm not the best guy to get advice from. But yeah, definitely, when it comes, professional career, maybe I'm not best person that you should seek advice from. Definitely on the personal side, of course, just use condoms, otherwise we are going to end up with 5 kids. But on the professional side, giving you advice, it would be more just try to be curious, just try to be curious, just do not stick to just one thing. If you become a dentist, if you become an engineer, if you become a doctor or whatsoever, I think that curiosity what is going to reshape your professional career. At the end, if you are curious, you can learn any skill. You can then land in a job that you never thought before, or that you were never prepared, or you don't even have studies or a degree in. So this level of curiosity is what is going to reshape your professional career in the upcoming years. And this is my only advice, is to keep up with your curiosity, always as your priority number one. Be curious about something. Be curious and be curious. If you see something that you like and enjoy, be curious about it. Go start doing deep dives into the topics. And you never know. If you, at the end, if you enjoy it, you like it, you get good at it, and at the end, you are going to make money off it.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for that. I think this is one of the podcasts that it's been the most honest and transparent and open, and the way that you talk about burnout and depression, it is what it actually should be, and thank you so much for that. It's been really nice to have you here, and you have this mix of being both a very sharp and articulate person. By the way, your brain is working very nice, let me tell you. But you have this mix of being a very articulate guy with a very open and very direct and very honest, which is a combination that is not, it's actually very rare. And we need more people like you in the community, whatever that community is. So thank you for that.
Yeah, but
it's in the thing.
That's the thing. Yes, we don't know what community is right now. Yeah, yeah. George, maybe you end up in Joe Rogan podcast in one of these days. you never know. So you never know. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but thank you so much. That was very nice. And both me and Manuelo, and when we started hearing you, we weren't talking, but we were both smiling, because this is the reason why we did the podcast. And at the end of the day, everybody struggles in dentistry, whether with professional or personal issues. And in dentistry, it seems like people have different sometimes,
and they have a mask. You talked about that mask, right? So I think in order for you to sometimes to handle dentistry, you build that mask and you go through dentistry through that mask. And that's sometimes one of the reasons that also leads to situations of burnout and depression, because people cannot handle that mask at a certain moment. But so I think that's to have honest conversations like this, and to hear someone speaking without that mask is very, very refreshing. And you see that it's authentic and comes from a place of authenticity and vulnerability also, because it's needed. But thank you. It was very good. Thank you.
It was my pleasure, and Manuela, it's authenticity. I think it's really important as well. Social media. When it comes to social media, we see a lot of people that on social media, and then in person, and he's a completely different person, and it puzzles me. Like you have two identities, so it's something that you have to think about. But this is a topic for another podcast.
Yeah, we would love to have you here another time, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I promise you, I will have a more lovely background. I know that I only have this,
but you have a lovely background. Yeah,
it's great.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So thank you so much again, and I know that you have your kids ready to go to bed in a few moments. So you enjoy your time in Spain, you enjoy your time in Switzerland or wherever you are, and let us know if you drop by Portugal, if you drop in Belgium. Just let us know. It'll be lovely to hang around with you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manuela.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone that listened, and we see you on the next episode. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Soft Spice podcast. We would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Please leave a comment or connect with us on social media. Your comments and messages will help us to know you and our profession a little bit better, so that we can offer real value in return. And if you like it, please subscribe. If you want to learn how to be a leader and drive change in dentistry, take a look at our Conscience Leadership course at softbites.online.